boom, 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 boom. Hello, everyone. Hi, and welcome. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Apparently, this year Hanukkah was like a minute ago. Well, let's see. Let's ask Siri. Because last time, I think Siri was like, Hanukkah was like early December or something. Hey, Siri, when was Hanukkah 2020?
Hanukkah started the evening of December 10th, 2020, and ended the evening of December 18th, 2020.
Yeah, the 10th to the 18th. So Hanukkah's over. But I hope people had a merry or a happy Hanukkah. I can't remember if there's what was that? If there's a Muslim holiday around this time. I don't think there's a Ramadan around this time, but it might be. Hey Zelda, Merry Christmas. How you doing today? I just decided to come live for a second before today's festivities start over here. My mom just started cooking the stuff that she's gonna cook, so. You have to go to work for 16 hours? Oh my gosh. Well, hopefully, I'm doing pretty well. I'm doing pretty amazing. I just watched my favorite Christmas movie, and it kind of hit different this year a little bit. It was All of the Other Reindeer. It's so interesting because it is. There's definitely a common theme between my favorite movies and the movies that I just like watched a lot. And I just noticed it earlier this year. And All of the Other Reindeer fits right in line with the other movies. So hopefully you get to enjoy the time that you don't have to work. Thank you again for being one of those people on the front lines, helping us through this time. And I hope that you at least got like a full night of sleep or something. Cause that's crazy. But like, so do you get like holiday pay on that and overtime? Cause then again, I guess like at least you're making bank, right? I don't know what we're doing today. I never know what we're doing. I think I did decide that I'm gonna end up. I'm still gonna put it together. Like personal readings. I think I'm just gonna use the email that I use for the other channel. It's fine. And I think I might do like an incremental type thing. Ooh! What? That's nice. Yeah, I would be working today. Well, it depends on the work. But if I was making that an hour, I would be working too. Let me find reading that back on. Yeah, $33 an hour. I thought that said 33. 33 is a number that's been kind of sort of popping up. Now it's 303 on the time. Ooh, the World card with Happy Family. Oh, that's really sweet. Hopefully for those who can't be with family this year, you still feel the love. And hopefully for those who are with family this year, you feel the love, because sometimes family gatherings can go south. Kylie Rae Jepsen released the song, I saw it a few weeks ago. Like, it's not Christmas until somebody cries or something. And the song is about, I only listened to like half of the song, but it was about how like people are arguing and something else is going on, and it's not Christmas until somebody cries. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's crazy at your house. Ooh. Well, at least like I feel like since it's crazy, then hopefully it's crazy in a good way, like good crazy. But then it's like, you get a whole experience of festiveness before you got to work for 16 hours. Contract came out. Interesting. Bottom of the deck is Door to Personal Healing and Happiness, which is also interesting. I read contract as, or I've been reading contract as what we have to do. This is a 6 into a 734. What we have to do to sort of fulfill the requirements to get to that next phase of life. And I had such an interesting dream last night. There's this interesting thing that's been happening in my dreams lately, and I guess it's been a slow build up over time, where like I'll know that I'm dreaming, and not every dream goes like full lucid. And so last night I had this dream with some people that I know in real life, and I was like flying home, but for some reason my flight was like delayed or something, and I'm like, this doesn't make sense. Like I should be able to go home. But my terminal buddies, it was somebody that I know and some other people, and we had like a really, really good time. It was so fun. So I got a little bit of Christmas with some friends in my dream last night, I guess. So that was really nice because it did make me really happy. um, and and there were like some other people that I came across from like different terminal groups, and they were all kind of sort of like trying to stick their nose up or something. And I'm like, you know what? Like, it ain't even about all y'all. I'm having a good time. I'm being me authentically, and I don't really care. And so I go back to my terminal group. We're having a good time, and then I get like reassigned to a different terminal. I'm like, no, I'm waking up. Like, I'm not doing this. I don't want to go to a different terminal group. I like my terminal group. And I was like, in the dream, I was like, I'm gonna say hi to all of y'all like as soon as I wake up. Because they were like, oh no, we don't want you to go. And I was like, I don't want to go either. I'm just about to wake up because I don't want to do this. And so I got a good look at their faces. So I was like, let me make sure I actually remember when I wake up who these people are. And one of them, I guess I'll send him a thing right now because I haven't really talked to him in a minute. We were really good friends in kindergarten. I'm actually better friends with his sister, but we had class together in kindergarten, and then I became really good friends with his sister in third grade. And then there was a period where like there was some miscommunication and we lost contact, but then we got it back. And that was another thing, I guess, kind of sort of about, excuse me, all of the other reindeer. It seemed like there was a lot of miscommunication in that movie. But it also goes back to, or it reminds me of what I said like yesterday, of what I've come to realize, and that like we experience things the way that we're meant to experience them. And so we may not know everything that we may, it's like we may not know the full truth of a situation. We may not see everything in its entirety, but what we know in the time that we know it is enough to do whatever it is that we need to do in that moment. And sometimes you know more as you go along. Sometimes we don't give ourselves the opportunity to really get to know more. It's like we walk away and then we find out all of the more that we could have learned. And maybe we feel like we rushed to some kind of judgment in a situation. Or maybe like hindsight is like, wow, like knowing what I know now, I wish I would have done more then. But you know, hindsight is 2020 as far as that's what they say. Um But give me one moment. I know this is like super rude, but I gotta do this because in the dream I promised them that I would. And so one of the people, my little Sagittarian friend that I think I talked about lately, I don't know. I have a few Sagittarian really good friends, actually. And I love and appreciate them for who they are. They definitely uh ground me and balance me out in a lot of pretty cool ways. And also, it's like some pretty good conversation and other things, especially like when they're open and flexible. Um, one second. I'm sorry. Not really. Well, I am. I am sorry. Merry Christmas. Yeah, because I looked at him and I don't think I really noticed him in this dream before the end of the dream when I turned around to get a really good look at the people who I was there with. Because I told them that I was going to say something when I woke up. Um, Yeah. And so one of them I reached out to immediately. And he's kind of sort of been a player in my dreams for a minute. And it's interesting. I honestly don't feel super connected to a lot of the people that like come into my experience. I know a lot of people will be like, oh, like your family, like your close family and your friends, like you probably reincarnated with them time after time after time. And one time you're the brother, another time you're the mom, another time like you're the auntie or the cousin or the sister or the dog. Um, and I guess it's not that I've necessarily felt extremely connected to him. We just like resonate on a certain level. And I remember one time, like, there was this whole conversation we had without words. And then we talked after, because it was a situation that came up. And we talked after, and like, we were both on the same page. Like, what I was sending him, he was picking up. What he was sending me, I was picking up. And then we talked about it after, and I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking and feeling. And he was like, I know, like, I could tell. I was like, oh my gosh, it was kind of wild. Yeah, I did talk about him lately because I was like, I have this one friend who's like double Sag in a Leo rising, Sag moon and sun and moon. The village with the bottom of the deck being the hunter. This is not great. You're still here? Okay, Zelda. The hunter in the village. The first thing that popped into my mind immediately is that it takes a village to raise a child. And I feel like that speaks of the influence, the things that shape us and influence us outside of like our primary family and our primary environment. I feel like there's a huge influence on our family and our family life growing up and stuff like that. But there's also more than just that. And it's interesting that like I didn't see any family at the airport or in that terminal group. It was all friends. And with the hunter here is interesting. What's that? The prayer in reverse under the hunter. It reminds me of that card I got yesterday. Wisdom with the light that was off in the distance. And this horse is going towards the light. Now, the village in the book, because this is one of the cards that I've read, it talks about how after speaking of Sagittarian friends, one of my Sagittarian friends just sent me a message on Snapchat. Interesting. It's a different Sag. Anyway, I have like quite a few Sagittarian friends. I have a lot. Because I got Cancers, Geminis, Tauruses. I think I probably have the least amount of Taurus friends, and maybe Aries. No, because I know a few Aries. Leo, met a whole bunch of Leos 2016, 2017. Libra might be on the lower side. Scorpios. Anyway, sorry, back to this. I need to focus. Today is going to be all over the place. I don't know I have a few things. I had a really, really, really good idea of something to do today, like real quick, but I forgot what it was. But there's some things that I want to do. So no timestamps today, just zip around or don't. But anyway, I can't remember why I picked up my phone. But with this hunter, it's like finding the light. The thing about the village is that there comes a point in time where we have to leave the village. We have to leave our comfort zones to grow and evolve and to experience the world outside of where we started to get a more complete picture of life. But at the end of all that, there's also the return back to the village. And when we go back to the village, that's when that's how the village grows and that's how the village expands because of what the people who return bring back. And so with this village card and with contract and the door to personal healing and happiness, maybe there was a point in time where there was some separation, or maybe there's been this growing separation in like a familiar structure where it's time for you to kind of sort of venture out and to explore more of yourself and who you are outside of the dynamic that you were born in, and like the belief systems and structures that you were kind of sort of born into. And it's time for you to find more of who you are. And it's not that those things will necessarily disappear, but it's like you're going to have a deepened appreciation for it, because now you're going to be taking that into the world. You're going to be seeing if it works, seeing how to make it work for you, incorporating other things into it, and then really coming into more and more of yourself. And then it's like you can be that example when you go back to the village. Like if you're the first in your family to do whatever, or one of the firsts in your friend group to do whatever, then it's like you get to be sort of like that example that it can be done in some ways. And you get to assist those who also come behind you. Or even like people who are older than you. You can sort of assist them in whatever it is that they're going through at that time. And so that's what I think this hunter in the village energy is kind of sort of doing. And so contract is kind of sort of sitting in the energy of the village. But again, it's like, I think with contract, it's understanding the limitations of the situation, right? Because a contract is legally binding and it tells you like what you're allowed to do and what you're not allowed to do. But this is something that you don't necessarily have to be bound to, but it feels like there's some kind of obligation here. I think it's time for you to prioritize, or if you've been in a place of prioritizing your own personal healing and happiness and going after that thing which is the light in your life. Because like the village is sitting under this mountain, and it's like the backside of the mountain. It's just, we're not supposed to be there forever. Like it takes a village, the shaman. Ooh, this one is all cosmic and mystic. I feel like I've never really seen these cards before, because I can just see so much more detail now. Like this eyeball here. There's an eye in the dark. Is that an eyeball? It's looking like an eyeball today. Y'all see the little eyeball? Right there? Somebody's peeking into the darkness. There's like this cosmic shaman type of energy. We have this diamond world. We have a snake, a red snake, 3 little skulls, stars, and this eye in the dark. What was I talking about? It's time for you to it takes a village to raise a child, but after like you're no longer a child, then you go out into the world and you develop even further. And so with these 3 skulls, it can be kind of sort of 3 lives within one lifetime. Because there's the child phase where you're learning and you're kind of sort of soaking up everything around you, patterns, behaviors, mannerisms, views, beliefs, opinions, things like that. And then you go through that first death when you come into, I'll say like the adult phase. And like these overlap with each other, and it's never necessarily like a clean break, because even adults learn. We're lifelong learners. But in the adult phase is when you kind of sort of do like more independent things, and you don't just accept the things that your environment is giving you. You come into a space of testing it and trying it, and developing or honing, refining, or replacing whatever needs to be developed, honed, refined, or replaced. And then you come into that second death period, which is the elder. And from the elder is where you start to disseminate knowledge, primarily to, well, I guess like the adult disseminates knowledge to the child, and the elder disseminates knowledge to the adult and the child. but there are also things that the child disseminates to because again, they sort of overlap and there's wisdom to be gained in every phase. But with the elder, I guess it's when you kind of sort of start to distance yourself from the physical a little bit. It's like you care less because you've lived more. And in the elder phase comes an understanding beyond life because you've lived so much of it. And because by that point you've had so many experiences. And so it's like whenever something else happened, you can put it in context against everything else that's happened. And then from the grand scheme of things, you can, like, there are things that you won't even remember. Things that, like, you thought were a big deal when you were a child or an adult, that by the time you reach the elder phase, you're like, wow, that really wasn't that big of a deal. And again, for that phase, it was the apex or the what's the thing? The summit, the pinnacle. It was the pinnacle. It was the hardest, the most challenging, the most difficult up until that point. And so it was a big deal. But like after that resolution, it's just like it kind of sort of really wasn't. Um I do want to look up Deus Ex Machina real quick. And I'm gonna ask this deck. First we'll ask Siri. Hey Siri, define Deus Ex Machina. I think it's like God of the machine, according to the
Deus
Latin.
Ex Machina means an unexpected power or event saving a seemingly hopeless situation, especially as a contrived plot device in a play or novel.
Yep. There was a Deus Ex Machina in Olive the Other Reindeer. And she got a present. She's like, to Olive from Deus Ex Machina. And she broke out of a situation that she wouldn't have, honestly. And it kind of sort of reminds me, like, there are these sort of Deus Ex Machina moments in our lives where it's like we have that break. When, okay, well, all tied up. I wasn't going to look at that one. So this is where we are. What's the Deus Ex Machina from this all tied up energy? What time we leaving? 1 second. All right, so we're about to leave in a moment. So I'm gonna wrap this up here, and then I may come back later and do the other thing, or I may do that on the other channel. I do want to. So I wanted to pull one card. I think I'll come back later and do it. I wanted to pull one card from, I guess, before the eclipse. The eclipse. Another card. 2 cards for the conjunction on the solar winter solstice, and then another card for after. If I remember, maybe I could write it down. So what's the Deus Ex Machina in this situation? So we're all tied up right now. Maybe hopeless, maybe not being able to see the way out of the situation that we're in. Okay. The Deus Ex Machina is the man holding a coin, with the bottom of the deck being 5th chakra archangel Gabriel. Gabriel came out quite a bit when I used those archangel power cards the other day. But it was like Gabriel in that deck, and it's Gabriel in this deck. Gabriel is one of the angels that can be a man sometimes or a woman sometimes. I've also heard that like Uriel and Ariel can be the same, with one being like the masculine of that aspect and another being the feminine. When you're dealing with some energies, it's like they can be either or. And it's almost like when they embody one more than the other, then it emphasizes different aspects of their energy, I guess. Right? It's like It's the, like, let's say that someone's a singer, songwriter, dancer, but also like a lawyer. And sometimes they're in the artistic mode where they're singing and songwriting and dancing. Other times they're in that sort of logistics analytics mode when they are like critiquing, breaking down like arguments and finding the sense of something. Now it's still the same person, but depending on the scenario, it'll be emphasized, like different strengths will be emphasized basically. I don't know why I'm going through all that. But I did. Also, I do want to read the shaman card real quick. Oh, what number is this? The shaman is number 16. So it's an aspect of the self that we all have. All right, I'm going to switch to my other reading glasses real quick. Because this red text is a little difficult to read. There we go. So the shaman is the magi, the sorcerer, and the medicine woman. That's interesting because the magi came out yesterday. I know it was on this side. I can't remember which chakra it came out with, but I know the magi came out yesterday. So it says 3 archetypal ingredients constitute the shaman, and all must be present in order to reveal its magic. First, the shaman is activated by long-standing and diligent study, the mentor. Second, its orientation is generously and accurately aimed toward the healing of the self, the other, and the culture, the healer. And third, the shaman has a knack for finding doorways to the other world, allowing psychic visions and old magic to leak into this world, the unseen. In this way, the shaman is a master who bridges the everyday and the sacred, revealing potent power needed desperately in our time. Yet, where there is power, there is shadow. So the shaman must be vigilant in studying their darkness. This card reminds us that the force of healing is ultimately not our own. We must shape it and share it with the world. When light, this is a fearless student and practitioner. When dark, it overpromises, blames, hurts self and others. To go deeper, read Black Elf Speaks and Michael Tucker's Dreaming with Eyes Open. Black Elk. I said elf. Black Elk Speaks. Sorry. I was like, oh, Black Merry Christmas. No way. Oh, this, okay. So, contrary to popular belief, the shaman archetype appears in every vocation. Teachers, directors, surgeons, politicians, and poets are just a few of the faces a shaman may wear. And I like that for getting into that other, like, because I did honestly low key a little bit when I was like, you know, when they're being artistic and doing this, and it's like, you can be artistic and still be a lawyer. But it's like, it's not downplaying the artisticness, but it's emphasizing the analytics and the logistics and the critiquing more so than the creating. Anyway, I just thought that was interesting. The shaman can't be rushed working with this archetype. The shaman can't be rushed. Working with this archetype requires study and perseverance. Think of it like brining. Think of it like brining or marinating. The content must permeate every fiber of its being. Now we come down to the man holding the coin. I need some clarification for this, but I gotta go, so I'm gonna just grab this deck real quick because it's right here. Off of first impression, I would say that the man holding a coin is realizing how everything in our physical experience is connected to things that are more subtle, to things that are less physical, right off the bat, and that being the Deus Ex Machina. We got a 23 and a 43, which is a difference of 20. And was that 39 or 29? It looked like 39. Already done took the reading glasses off. I just cut to the star card with judgment being at the bottom. Hey, look, I did it again. The star and judgment. Clarifying this man holding a coin. I feel like that's, again, it feels like maybe coming across someone who proves to you how mind can truly conquer matter. Because how is this man holding a coin a Deus Ex Machina? Or like, unless some man holding a coin is coming to save somebody, maybe a lot of the all tied up is sort of financial. And there's something that alleviates financial opportunities, right? This could be a man. It doesn't have to be a man. It could be a masculine energy who's giving you money or a financial opportunity, who's giving you the ability to make your own money, maybe putting you in the spotlight, maybe someone who sees something in you, even amidst your period of darkness and struggle, that really takes you out of that. And with Gabriel being the throat chakra, I feel like this is going to be something where you really need to show up and you have to be your better self. And it's not necessarily about proving anything to anyone else. It almost feels like an energy of proving to yourself and allowing yourself to be more. Right. Because this man holding a coin sees something. Even though you're all tied up, this energy sees something. Okay, what's the Deus Ex Machina in this all tied up situation? I guess it would have helped if I defined the all tied up situation. I do remember seeing financial constraints at some point when I was shuffling the energy oracle cards. So let's look on both sides of financial constraint real quick. Here we go. The world and community on, and then we just had the village. It is kind of sort of taking me back to the giver and how it was like, if you always take, then how, like, what's your long-term plan in terms of like what you can do for yourself? So the Nine of Cups is coming out. So it's definitely causing you to wish for a lot. When we saw the Nine of Cups yesterday, it was kind of sort of sitting in the space of a desire that lower energies can use to come in and get us to kind of sort of shortcut and circumnavigate the things that we need to go through in order to like do it ourselves, to discover more of what that long-term plan is for us. And honestly, in some ways, to give us the courage and confidence to speak up and be heard and to be authentic and true and genuine. And courage and confidence doesn't mean that we're not afraid. It just means that you do it anyway. Like, it's only courageous, it's only brave if you are afraid. But then you do it anyway. So that's clarifying all of this. Maybe being a little overly reliant on, and it doesn't even have to be a person. I feel like this is being overly reliant on a specific thing to be like our ticket to being on top of the world. And that can be anything that you've devoted yourself to. Look, there's the world card again. Okay. Goodness. With the Mother of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck. I gotta hurry up because we're about to go. Oh, the world, the Emperor, and the Father of Wands. This to me feels like the energy of following in somebody else's footsteps. This is doing it someone else's way or doing it the right way. And that's kind of sort of what I was getting here. It's like we're really convinced that one specific thing is our ticket to eliminating these financial constraints, when in reality that's not the case. And sometimes we get moved in a different direction and we have to be open to that. You don't have to be open to it, but if something isn't like destined to work out for you, it's not going to work, no matter how much you put into it or how firmly you stand, because it's about the ground that you stand on here. And it's also feeling like either it's not completely authentically what we want to do, or there are other things that we also want to do that we're not pursuing, because that throat chakra is there. Okay. So back to the Deus Ex Machina. So the man holding a coin is coming in. Ooh, 8 of Wands. Okay, so it's going to be quick. It does feel like, though, it feels like we're going to feel like we don't have a lot of time to really think about this. And it also feels like there's going to be some hesitation of like, is this too good to be true? Like, should I, whatever? And while you should take a moment to check in and see if that opportunity resonates with you and your higher good and potential, also keep in mind that opportunity is not a lengthy visitor. And that's not to get into a scarcity mindset, but it's like once you've done so much work and the world shifts around you, you're going to be coming into things that are like actual opportunities. So there is going to come a time and point where you don't have to be so paranoid and cautious of everything. And I think that's also what this man holding a coin energy is going to be teaching you, or that's what's going to get you out of this all tied up situation. It's trusting that what comes into your experience is going to be for your good, and working that trust, working your growth and your evolution to like just to only attract the good things anyway. Right? It's like a magnet. If you're not in the dump with this magnet, then like you're probably not going to get trash. So I think that was the Six of Pentacles that just made an appearance. All right, real quick, a little bit more about this Deus Ex Machina energy. It's going to come in quick. It's going to be a bolt of lightning. I feel like it's going to illuminate a lot of things, but what it's also going to do is cause this sort of fragmentation in the self. It's going to cause you to confront and face your own shadows and insecurities and worries and doubts and fears and stuff like that to really move forward. And over here, there's this energy of kind of sort of like having accepted that those things are things and trying to make the best of that situation. And so maybe when this Nine of Cups comes in, it causes some kind of compromise in some way. If it's not challenging you in any way, it probably isn't going to get you out of whatever situation that you think it is. Right? Like if you're all tied up now and it's super easy, then you're probably still going to be all tied up because you're probably tied up for a reason. Okay. Back to the Deus Ex Machina. I'll give this 5 more if nothing comes out. I'll move on. Ooh, okay. Oh, I wanted to move on. Bottom of the deck is the Four of Pentacles. This to me reads as you will be one of the only things limiting yourself in this situation. And if you allow sort of your past failures or constraints financially, physically, experiences, if you allow your past experiences to dictate and determine the experiences that you have moving forward into the future, then it's like, yeah, you're going to get more of the same situation, or you're just not going to get out of the space that you're in because you don't allow anything different into your life. And when something different comes in, you like, what's that word that lawyers do? Mitigate? Not mitigate. Litigate? It might be litigate. You like litigate it out of your life. Like the good things. It's like you're building a case that is incomplete based off of past things, past situations, past chapters and cycles and paradigms that honestly don't apply to this energy. But because you convince yourself that it does, it puts you in a position to just write it out. Let's ask Siri. I think that might have been the word I wanted. Hey Siri, define litigate.
On it. Litigate means go to law, be a party to a lawsuit.
Okay, sure, maybe. I don't know. The cards that came out, we have, there it is. I think I saw the Six of Pentacles. The Six of Pentacles with the Sun. Also, Judgment in reverse, the Four of Cups in reverse, and the Eight of Swords in reverse. This is an all upright deck. The cards will come out in reverse if they're supposed to. They always come. Judgment in reverse, the Four of Cups in reverse, the Eight of Swords in reverse. This, to me, it reads as something that does not have to be litigated or argued against. Again, just like I was saying, because when you're putting in solar sun energy, you're going to get out solar and sun energy. And to get more of it, you have to partake in this more and more. That's how we shift the scales. And eventually it reaches that point where the things that would have shaken you no longer do, because you build enough of a body of evidence to combat the one that is your previous experiences. But that never happens if you never allow the world and spirit to show you how good things are and how things have actually changed. It's like you don't accept any of the good and you overly emphasize the bad. And you use that to justify why whatever is coming in isn't going to work out or blah, 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 whatever. But like all of that is in the past now. Hopefully it's not necessarily in the past, but it's definitely a blockage to moving forward. And again, like we have the Emperor and the Father of Wands over here with the World card. That's pretty strong energy. But with the World, it's not like it's a stagnant world. It's a dying world because it doesn't allow for the change of seasons. And it's like if it's always winter, then like nothing's gonna grow. If it's always summer, then I feel like it leads to a lot of rot and a lot of decay, because like the fall time doesn't come where we're harvesting what like grew to completion over the summer. If it's always spring, then nothing is ever maturing. We're just constantly planting. Like it requires everything. And then that period of rest in between of renewal and regeneration, it takes time for like the soil to replenish itself, to support new life. Anyway, the Sun and the Six of Pentacles. Six of Pentacles is huge lately. I mean, I did see it twice at the end of the reading. It was at the bottom of both decks. So I was like, oh my gosh, that's crazy with the Sun card. Like, and I feel like this Eight of Wands, whatever this is, it's just a taste. Like this is a single ray from the Sun. But since it's from the Sun, again, it's like it illuminates everything. And not all of this stuff, it's like just because it's being brought up doesn't mean it's necessarily an issue in this dynamic. It feels like, again, things within whatever structure that within that village energy where you kind of sort of grow up with these limitations and beliefs and other things that people have put upon you, or that you've sort of taken on to cope or survive in situations that may not have been great. But like if you've been doing that self-work, like it's gonna try to come back to you. But again, with these cards, these were in reverse. These have to be in reverse to allow this energy. Because with these upright, it keeps you from accepting it, basically. That's what I got. I hope y'all have a good whatever one ever. I'm going to try to get some final messages real quick. We got to go. But I feel like, that's connected to things that I've already been saying. But again, I feel like a lot of people have been feeling that like winter solstice, new energy, solar eclipse, new energy. A lot of people, or at least in my experience, have been like, I feel like something is changing. I feel like, things are going to turn around. Now, there are still some people who are sort of stuck in the COVID cycle where it's like, oh, things will never go back. We're going to be in this position forever. Six of Wands and Four of Wands at the half cut. That's interesting. With the Lovers and the Sun, that's super interesting. Also, that Two of Wands, though. It does take courage and bravery to transverse into that Ace of Wands. That to me reads like that's only a piece of what we have to be sort of excited for. Oh, okay, yeah. I'm glad those did not fall because that's way too much. Bottom of the deck is the Ten of Wands. The card that came out is the Devil. Don't allow your previous difficulties and burdens to stop you from moving forward into the future. This light at the end of the tunnel, you have to find. And you have to allow the light to be what it is. You can't treat light like a shadow. I mean, you can treat light like a shadow, but then it doesn't do what it could do. And it falls into this energy. Last time the Devil came out, it was a challenge. It was a space of initiation into something further. Everything that you want lies beyond this. This is not a dead end. But just like that hunter, you have to be willing to go beyond the darkness to claim the light. and you have to put this stuff to bed. I mean, you don't have to, but if you want it, it's required. You can do whatever you want or not do. I remember I would always ask one of my teachers in high school, like, is this homework mandatory? Is this mandatory? And then she got she got annoyed and she was like, Patrick, the only two things you have to do are pay taxes and die. Like everything else is a choice. Only two things you have to do, pay taxes and die. Because no one lives forever. And the temple path, I haven't really seen that in a minute. And the government is gonna get their money. Basically. Well, get the money from the folks who, anyway, I'm not going into that. Final message from the Energy Oracle cards. The Magician in the Mirror and Envy. Numbers 20 and 53. 53 is actually the last card. This is interesting because, so 2 and 8. 2 is a fourth of 8, and it's the cubed root of 8. Like 2 to the third power is 8. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. And so there's this thirds and this fourths energy between these two. And I feel like that's kind of sort of that, like, we're operating at a fraction of our higher capabilities when we're comparing ourselves to others in a way that is like envious or malicious, spiteful, covetous. And it's like, if we can appreciate what we have where we are and work on maximizing, utilizing, growing from that, then it's like we'll be in a position where, like, when we look at other people, we're doing it in a cooperative way, right? There's like no reason to compare ourselves to anybody else. And this isn't like cooperating with somebody to cash in on what it is that they're already doing and trying to position yourself to get like maximum payoff with very minimal effort, and then convincing someone else that they need you. Like, this is actual, like, that would be actual cooperation. And if you do, like, if you step into this Magician in the Mirror energy, the Magician in the Mirror energy is literally about creating your own future and creating your own life through the power of heart connection and intention. It balances the forces of spirit and nature to find that sweet spot that is, it's almost like coding a program. You code it in spirit and it runs in the physical. It's sort of, what's that? It's like being the liaison on the in-between. And are you going to attract some haters? People say that, like, if you ain't got no haters, then you ain't doing something right. No, that's not necessarily something that I subscribe to, but it does appear to be true. But I think it's to remember that, like, in this envy card, that's someone who's not stepping into their own light. It's like, you can't be willingly in your own shadow and darkness and then, like, mad at somebody who gets out of theirs. And again, it's not comparative. So that, like, oh, it's easy for you to do it because you don't deal with this and you don't deal with that and you ain't have to blah, 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 blah. Like, none of that gets you out of the situation that you're already in. And I'm the type of person who chooses to be inspired, honestly. And for me, it's not really a choice. I'm just like inspired by people. But yeah, that's this energy. It's like how you hate me from the shadows. Though. Like, if you were in the light, then like at least you would be doing something. But it's like, if you're not even doing anything, then how are you upset with someone else for doing what it is that they needed to do to get and be like where they are and who they are? Bottom of the deck is Sacral Chakra, Archangel Ariel, second chakra. So if you didn't watch the video I posted yesterday, chakra check-in, I would say go to the sacral part. In the sacral, it was like really heavy on coming out of the root. I think the root is where the devil was, which was about overcoming that trauma. And then on the other side, it was like not overcoming those root issues. And so it's like, again, if there's nothing in the soil to nourish the plant, then you're not going to get anything great. So if you're trying many different kinds of plants and everything dies, then hey, maybe it's time to check the soil. And that's what this energy over here was about, going through that initiation, facing those challenges of the self that were illuminated in the space of that Eight of Wands, or not. Like, you don't have to, but it's like, don't be surprised if nothing grows. But again, you can check out that part. It's talking about creation, and then we have the Magician in the mirror here. This is someone who can create for themselves all kinds of manners of things. This is someone who can't, and kind of sort of stands on the outside, and instead of looking at ways that they can improve, they kind of sort of look at the differences to justify why they aren't where it is that they feel they should be. But again, it's like, if you're not actually doing anything, then how can you be mad? I mean, not how, because again, it's very human and it's very understandable, but it's just like not productive. Okay, final message from these cards. Who is that? The Orphan and the Shaman. That to me reads as like deepening the connection to the natural spiritual world, the natural and spiritual worlds, maybe in a way that's different than those around you, or that connection deepening through the space of otherness. Okay, final message, please. I'm gonna give this 5. Please like one card. For, I might not come back. Maybe I will. So we get the Mother and the River. And in the river, we can see the Hunter. It looks like maybe the Hunter is drowning this one. The Mother and the River. Oh, this is 1 and 34. The Mother and the River, the Mother and the River. Atreyu. I'm so glad to see that. If for him it was a while, but he made it back. He was like one of the funniest, and he's an Aquarius. Do I have a lot of Aquarian friends? I have quite a few Aquarian friends, actually. I got a lot of friends all over the zodiac. Like one of the funniest, but also kind of sort of most sincere people that I've ever met. And then he had a whole like 180 on that, and I was like, oh my gosh, like that is not the person I know. The one at the bottom of the deck. There's like heavy oneness progenitor energy here. The Mother and the River, it's like the source of all things. The Mother archetype is one that gives birth. It's one that takes in information, combines it with her own information, and produces something that is a combination of the two of those. It also speaks of the gestation period and the process of like creating that life and what it requires. It's like a lot of times we want things, but we don't go through the labor pains and the gestation period. It's like we don't carry it properly, but we want it to be like healthy, and we want like all these things when it's actually born. And it's like, if you're not putting anything into yourself, because this, like what you put into you directly energetically feeds into what is born from you. Again, it's like you can't expect anything that you're not doing. And you can, but it's ineffective to expect anything that you're not putting into it. And then we have the river here, which could just be emotions. And I've seen, heard, read, not really read, I've heard and seen that when, you know, someone's pregnant, they do get a little bit more emotional, or a lot of bit more emotional, depending. Some people are maybe equally as emotional. Other people may actually be less emotional when they're pregnant. Everyone's different. But with this river, I feel like the river can be, it's like the state of the river determines, again, the birth of this. Because if the river is stagnant and it's like there's a lot of algae in it and it doesn't really go anywhere, then it's not going to do much. But if it's healthy and it's flowing, then that's going to be the wellspring of life that lays the groundwork and foundation for whatever is gestating to have its most optimal chance at a good life. And the power of the river is in its movement, right? And it's like you can't slap a little hydroelectric, water turbine, whatever, a water wheel into a river that ain't going nowhere, because then you're not going to get any power. You're not going to get any juice. And when it's stagnant, things can sort of fester. And so there's an element of fluidity here. And it's like you as a mother, we as mothers have to adapt to the needs of what it is that we're giving birth to. Even if it's something that we don't necessarily like, or even if it's something that doesn't necessarily grow us. If the baby needs it, then the baby needs it. Right? If whatever you're growing energetically needs it, then you have to give it to it. And there's also this energy of like putting your own baggage aside, going back to that 10 of Wands and the devil that came out. Also going back to the hunter with the village, also going back to that 8 of Wands where it's illuminating all of these shadows within self. It's a reality check for self. And if you don't become a better you, then you're going to project all of your baggage onto whatever it is that you're giving birth to. And you're going to be toxic and nasty and not the best parent, not the best role model to set an example of what someone can be capable of. If you're just projecting all of your own worries, doubts, fears, and limitations onto something else, it's going to kill the potential of that thing. And if you mess around and get the right kind of child, even though it came from you, it may resent you in some ways, and it's going to outgrow you. And some children limit themselves because of their mothers and their familial situations and circumstances. Some don't. And some will leave that village. Some of those children may not return to those villages because they may feel that there's nothing for them to return to. And I feel like that's what the river and the mother is. Whatever you are giving birth to, you have to change. You have to feed that. You have to nurture it. You have to do this. And like, even if you did conceive of this child with somebody else, unfortunately, they don't have to stick around. They don't have to help you. They don't have to carry the baby. Their diet can remain unchanged. Their physical activities, their lifestyle doesn't have to change at all. The weight of all of that falls on you. And if this is something that you want to take to term, if this is something that you want to thrive, you have to do what's necessary for you and for this. And it's not to say that you can't depend or rely on anyone else, but it's like at the end of the day, they can only do so much. They can't eat your food for you. They can't, like, it's not like, you know, they eat and then biologically the fetus inside of you gets what it needs. Like, it don't work like that. And so there is a little bit of responsibility here as well that falls on the self. And again, with the one being at the bottom of the deck, I feel like this kind of sort of speaks the connection between mother and child before they become separate. And so there is a period where something will be purely inside of you, and inside of you it is more protected from the outside world. But once you give birth to it, then it goes through its own challenges, it develops its own personality, it forms its own opinions, it lives its own life. And again, as the mother in the river, you have to give this thing the freedom to do all of that. Because if it's stagnant, it's not going to grow. So that's what I got. That was interesting towards the end, but hey, I gotta get ready to go. I hope you have a good whatever whenever you see this. If you celebrate Christmas, I hope you have a merry one. If you celebrate Hanukkah, I hope you had a happy one. If you're in the Kwanzaa, I hope you are Kwanzaa-ing it up. All I know is Kuja Chagalia, Imani, and that's it. I can't remember the other ones. And if you celebrate anything else, then I hope you enjoy that. If you don't celebrate anything, I hope you're having a wonderful time. I know this year was really rough for a lot of people. So I hope that you can take out of this year whatever you need to take out of this year to make next year even better. And with that, I bid you all adieu. Thank you, Zelda, for coming in. I didn't interact too much today, but I hope you have a good shift. 16 hours is a lot, but make that moolah. And I'll catch y'all whenever I catch y'all. I may be back on later because I was really excited to do that like hopscotch thing. All right, bye.